Press it, whatever you do.
Do default rabbit.
Okay. One of the things I do a lot in my industry is a thing called pre-visualization. Does anybody know what that is? Basically, it's used a lot in movies now, especially with visual effects sequences, and some companies get paid a lot of money to do it. My good friend Steve Begg, who recently finished Skyfall, the Bond film, they had to do a whole load of previs. And basically what it is, it's kind of literally doing the computer in 3D computer graphics quickly and fast to decide how you're going to shoot. So in other words, they will try out scenes with kind of digital puppets, and they will then edit those to music and sound and predetermine what they're actually going to shoot. And it's a very good way of making sure that when you turn up to do your shoot, you know what you're going to do. So for the Armadacon film next year, once we have the script, the intent will be to completely film the film in previs, in 3D. So we'll know all the cuts, we'll know all the action, we'll know all the dialogue. So we'll know, we have a two-shot, sort of medium shot or something. And the reason for that is that when we turn up next year, we will hopefully have a nice, fast shooting schedule, because we'll know all the camera setups that we want to use beforehand, and we'll know what all the action is. So this product here, this is a bit of software called iClone. In fact, this isn't. This is the mocap plugin for iClone. And it uses the PC version of the Microsoft Kinect, which, as you may remember, was developed for the Xbox 360. The PC version is the developer version. And the company that makes iClone, which is a tool that's used for previs and for machinima movie making. Does anybody know what machinima is? Yeah. Machinima is basically, years ago, people would hack a game engine to make their own movies. Quite famously, Halo was one of the early ones. And hackers would hack the game engine, and then they would instruct the characters and the cameras to do what they wanted, and they'd make movies. Red versus Blue being a good case in point, and it was termed machinima. This tool was developed for machinima, but people naturally used it for previs. And the Kinect, as you can see here, is calibrated to my body, so the skeleton is tracking me in real time, and with that I'm able to attach it to a character. So let's run up something that bleeps loudly. Hello!
All right.
Right. It was like that the other day when Dave had that beeping sound coming from his computer. It turned out to be the phone off the hook on the floor. After the poor chap having his computer over for half an hour. Okay, so this is iClone, which is getting its act together. Now this is going to be slightly sluggish on a laptop. Normally you have to run this on a higher spec machine because of what it's doing with the mocap side of things. But I'm hoping you'll get the idea. So this is a previs tool, and it's very much set up like a filmmaking tool. So you have stage, sets, actors. So it's all kind of a nice tab-based environment. Comes with a big library of ready-to-go assets. One of the reasons it's popular is because it's very quick to set up a character. Now here's my own personal avatar, Avatar Owl, and let's get him back on virtual me into the environment. So one of the things you can do with iClone, which is quite fun, is it has a face fitting mode where you can take a photograph of yourself front on, and if you want a side photograph, and then you can match a 3D head to the photograph by moving control points around, and then it will shape the head to match your head and then project the texture onto it. So just as an example, since I'm a bit far away here, I should just go to the head camera and you'll see scary! Scary virtual Alan. So this is my avatar, and if I want to animate him. Now, I can animate him in a number of ways in iClone. For previs, you can puppeteer in real time using the mouse from a library of stuff. But you can, when you have the mocap tool, run it with the Connect. So, I'm just going to connect to the Connect. Make sure it's locked on. It'll get exactly, there we go, head snapped in. Okay, so here we go. Now, you know, there are some limitations to it because the Connect has some problems in so much as, you know, and I haven't bothered to lock the feet to the ground, but you can kind of lock the feet to the ground to stop it bouncing around a bit. But obviously, because it's a camera over there, it's seeing what's called depth information. So what this camera is doing is it projects structured light into the environment. So infrared light is being projected onto me with a pattern. And then there are two stereo cameras that are then looking at the offset of all the pixels that make up the picture of my body and working out the stereo depth. So that kind of funny shape you saw in that other window earlier is the depth image. And when other people you saw walking by, the camera were picked up, you'd see them changing colour, and that's the camera working out how close or far away. So that's what it's doing. So you can trick it. So if I turn sideways, for example, you know, it sometimes can get fooled as to what the hell I'm doing with my legs and stuff, because one of my legs is kind of lost, and you can see it's kind of lost things there for a moment. So it's got its limits, but if you consider that a real motion capture system is going to cost you £180,000, then if you want to do kind of fairly straightforward stuff, this is actually quite good. It's going a bit sluggish now because my laptop's doing quite a few things. So I'll just unpreview it. Now that's me, but you know, obviously when we come to do our movie, we can let's see what we got. There we go. He's a cartoony robot. And we'll obviously get a nice robot for the film next year if there happens to be any robots in it. But this is basically the way we will do, if we have a robot character, this is basically the way we will do it. And whoever decides they're going to be the robot will get to stand in front of all of this and do the performance. So if we go back to animation. So, there you go. Want to step in? Pick up on your body.
Oh, yeah, because it's got no instructions.
Forward a bit.
Forward a bit. There you go.
Break dance. Gangnam style. Gangnam style. There we go.
Now, with a more powerful machine, this will obviously be real time.
River dance. Shadow boxing.
Ooh.
Richard, face us and box, because we'll pick the arms up more.
Whoa.
And obviously you can record this. So in record mode, then when this is all happening, it's getting recorded by the computer. So you can then play it back and edit it. So you can sort it out as well after doing it. You're in place there.
It's a drug all the diodes down the left-hand side.
I'll set it recording. So on the moment. Right, so what we'll do is we'll get Richard to do a little recording of Richard then. So So I'm just going to hit the record button now. Here you go, we're recording. Right, off you go.
Pause a bit.
Oh, hold on, is it? No, it's stopped. Sorry. Let's try again.
Pause now.
Okay, there you go. Right, so he's kind of doing a complete turnaround, which obviously he's going to have a problem with. Cause
But the head doesn't turn.
step back a bit. Now the head, it can sort of turn once it's kind of locked onto you, but you can see.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah. It needs to have enough distance for you to catch the whole body and figure out kind of what you're kind of doing. And typically, if you want a performance, what you do is you have two computers. So you have one running the mocap plugin, which gives that complete control of the Connect, which takes quite a bit of processing power. And then it's okay, so that's actually because it's come to the end of the timeline. So if I quit out of this and I wind back on the timeline. Thank you.
Hey, I was drinking your tea in the shop.
Oh, you should have done that while you were in the
Let's hide the Windows taskbar. I need some screen real estate. Thank you. Okay.
That's really fascinating.
Okay, so this is the recording. So it's having trouble with the complete 360 spin because at some point there's no information.
Yeah.
But
And you're floating a few inches above the ground.
yeah, so he stepped back a bit and now he's kind of, in a sort of better position. But when you kind of set this up properly, you basically can calibrate the feet to the ground and all this sort of stuff. It takes a little bit of time to set it up properly. And then once you've done it, you can kind of edit it and play around with it. So that's kind of iClone, which is what we'll use next year should there be a robot in the project. So we'll see how the story competition goes. So, and as I said, that avatar of me you saw, we're going to be using that to do a complete scene. But I'll show you briefly a complete scene that I did for a magazine article I've been writing, just so you can kind of get a feel for what this stuff is all about. Actually, no, it's in the other one. So let me show. I'll just show you. This is a still, but it'll give you an idea of some of the kind of looks you can get inside the product. You can buy assets off the internet from a big library to add to it. You can also convert assets. The images we showed you in the presentation yesterday of the interiors and stuff, I've already converted some of those into the format that this program uses. So here, for example, is quite a heavily detailed set with my avatar in it. So there we go. So that's quite a detailed sort of environment. And if you want to put, for example, show you a quick animate a character, you can just simply do it two ways. You can come in here, go to animation, motion, and there's kind of a big library of motions that the package already comes with. And then you can sort of add your own, and you can also record your own. So, for example, let's do some embarrassing dancing. Just apply that. This is what's called by frame mode, so it's not running in real time. It's if I wind that back.
Gas leak. There was steam rising from your.
Yes, there is a little steam thing. It's got a real-time particle system in there. So that's just kind of one loop. But once you've got something in there like that, you can just bring up a thing called a timeline. Here's my cool dance move. And what I can do is I can just say loop mode, and I can just come in here and I can make that clip loop ad infinitum, and then get rid of that and hit play. So now I'm looping the animation. So great tool for previews because it's real time. It's using the same technology that game engines use for your computer games. And you know, you can make your own characters, you can put textures on your characters. As you can see, you can make your own head. And being an avatar, of course, you notice how excellently thin I am.
You can make yourself thinner, I like this.
And get the avatar to do the exercise as well.
Yeah.
Now you can see where surrogates creeps in.
Yes, I see your point.
Or you can enter the masquerade next year in digital form.
You haven't got your rules against
We
it
didn't
yet.
say the competition.
The avatar gets the prize.
So that's basically you know, what the Kinect's doing. It's depth mapping this environment. You can see the colour change as I come forward, so it knows where I am in space. And applying that to the character of your choice. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is show you some of the green screen side of things. Now, some of you here last year will have seen some of this, but it's the easiest way to sort of describe what we're going to do. You may remember we did the Armadacon presentation last year. So just remind you, if we get to build a spaceship, we kind of hope we do, I'm happy to report that a fair few of the story synopsis that we've had have got spaceships in. So this is how you do it in this, you know, this day and age. It's pretty much every show does digital these days. So this is what's called a wireframe, which is, you know, the simplest way a computer can describe a computer model. So just so you know how computers model things that were in the real world, we use things called polygons. Now, a polygon is a arbitrary, multi-sided, flat, planed object. It can have any number of sides. In our industry, typically we'll have quads, what are called quad sides. It'll be four-sided. So if you imagine you want a sphere or a ball to look nice and smooth, you end up using a lot of these polygons, and the more and the smaller they are, the more smooth the sphere will look. So if you need to get really close to something, then you need to make it out of lots of polygons. But the reason why they're popular is that they're very efficient in computer terms. Computers can calculate them very fast as to where they are in real three-dimensional space. So it's kind of pretty much become the norm. So, for example, the last Star Wars films, you know, the big Coruscant space battle in Revenge of the Sith, 100% digital now, not the miniature inside. And this is the way it's done. This is what's called the diffuse colour pass. So you don't just take the model and put computer lights in and stuff. You actually, I mean, you do that, but then to give yourself control over how it looks in the final shot, you need to do a lot of what's called colour grading, because although as a visual effects house you might be doing a shot like this, ultimately you're going to hand this shot to the producer and the director, who will be going to what's known as a colorist in the business. And the colorist is somebody who specialises in grading an entire film or TV project from beginning to end and making a consistent look. So that means that they will take your work and they might alter it quite a lot, cutting the colour balance, because that's what the director wants, because the live action on one side of the cut point and the other has a particular look. So when we hand these shots over, we have to hand them over in a way that that kind of thing can happen. So this is a dirt pass, so we wanted a dirty spaceship. So again, this is kind of all the dirt on the spaceship. And we can, in a compositing package, when we layer all these together to make the final image, we control how heavy this dirt appears on the ship. So instead of having to commit, the thing about it is this way: if you you can in a computer hit the render button and get an absolutely perfectly finished, beautiful picture done. So if you then set the computer doing that and you've got a shot that's, say, 10 seconds long, 10 seconds is 250 frames, okay? If each of those frames takes 10 minutes to calculate, then, and you've got one computer, you're into kind of like day of rendering, a day before the shot will be finished. If the director comes back and says, I don't like it, and you change the light and put it over here on the left, you have to do all that rendering again, from scratch. So by doing it in passes like this, you're handing a lot of the control to what's called a compositor, which is the person that takes the 2D passes and puts them together into the final composite. This is the background plate, which of course is a planet. This is a painting, so not untypical of how a lot of films do distant shots of planets. Sometimes they're just a big painting rather than modelling a complete sphere. Lens flares are popular. So this is in the case of Outcasts, it was shot anamorphic, which means it was 235, although it was cropped for television transmission, sadly. So we've got anamorphic lens streaks to match what the lenses were doing on the actual live action. And then we have the final comp, where it's all being put together by the compositor, and all those layers are brought together and balanced, and you end up with your final shot. So when we come to do the fan film, this is basically the kind of technique that we use for any spaceships that may appear. And here's just a breakdown showing all different passes being brought together. Now, we're not going to be doing any rooftop chases. Sorry. But we can do, as I said, we can do cityscapes. So things like this we can do. We can do cityscapes using some of the assets that I showed you the other day in the presentation. The reason we can't do rooftop chases like this is because of what it takes to do them. And this would fall under the list of things we can't do because of the kind of stunt work and stuff involved in doing this, but also because of the space you need to do this, which you'll see very shortly. This is the final cut together. Amy was very good. She did a lot of her own stunt work. I mean, obviously she's got a safety wire on, which we've removed, but she was up for being dangled sort of, sort of 60 odd feet above the ground without any problem. So, yes, that was the feature of Carpathia, was that the ships obviously came with a huge number of shipping containers on board, and of course, naturally, rather than waste them, they decided to make the city out of them and make the walls of the city out of them. It was kind of a feature. So here's the green screen, which you can see. And you can see how much space you need to cover stuff like this. There especially, that was kind of like a side shot. So unfortunately at Armadacon we don't have this kind of space. So doing stunt work like this, I'm afraid, is going to be not really possible. Because it takes this kind of type of setup to do this sort of thing. You can see all the big plane up there. So like that especially. So funny enough, we won't be able to do any of that. However, if we want long shots, so things we can't really do are things like, we can't do running down a corridor because we would need a huge green screen stage like Lucas used for the Star Wars films, and tracking dollies and things. Hence the fact we have to be a bit conservative about what the action is in the film. But the one thing we can do is the way things were done on Babylon 5. We can use little virtual characters like the iTran ones. You may remember that Babylon 5, if you remember that show, they did do a kind of nod to films like Forbidden Planet, where Forbidden Planet is that beautiful kind of Krell shaft, a reactor shaft, and there's the big kind of walkway, and you see these tiny little figures with long shadows come out on it. Now, obviously, that was a big miniature with with a full perspective and stuff, and the people were real and shot from a very high camera angle. But in Babylon 5, they did that with all digital, and the only reason it looked a bit naff in Babylon 5 was back then they didn't have mocap, so the characters, you can actually tell the characters are digital, not because they look digital, because they're really tiny. It's because they animate really badly, because they didn't have the mocap to get the human motion. But we have mocap now. We have home mocap, so we can get very natural motion. So we can use that technology to do long shots. So if we want a long shot, we can do that.
So this particular stuff didn't actually come in until when? Recently?
No, it's been around for some time, but it was so expensive. Motion capture was originally, believe it or not, developed. Well, motion capture was originally developed by the medical industry. Okay, it was developed for gait analysis. It was developed for people who had significant problems with mobility and walking, and they wanted a way of actually getting a very accurate capture of that person's motion to try and find out what the problem was. So they developed this technique with multiple cameras in a room, and people had to put these reflective markers in their bodies. You might have seen them on some making of videos. They wear a kind of tight-fitting suit, and you've got these like reflective balls, and the cameras see those markers, and they're able to calculate in real time, at least now, because back in the past they couldn't, the actual skeleton that's inside the person that's walking around. And it was that skeleton with the animation on it that the medical industry wanted to analyse. What happened was games companies got a sniff of this, Activision being one of the earliest, and they went, oh, hold on a moment, we can use this for games. So back in 1994 was the first instance of a games company demonstrating motion capture at a videographic show in America, which everybody was blown away by, because what they'd actually done was they'd done they'd done a brawl between a human character and a creature, a biped creature, and nobody had ever seen anything like that before, and it looked amazing. So that's where the technology comes from. But as I said, back then, you were looking at nearly £1 million for the technology. Now, if you want a big studio like the one at Parliament at Centroid, it's still a lot of money. It's like £186,000. But obviously, when you're working in the film industry, your clients will pay for a huge space, because the modern systems, you can have 10 people running around at the same time, all being calculated by the system, with props, holding guns. The guns will actually also be recorded. That's how good they've got. But for us mere mortals doing this sort of stuff, or maybe in the fan film, we have to come lower down the scale. There is a system that uses 2 Kinects, which costs like $1,000 just over, and it actually uses 2 of the Kinect cameras and can record in a volume probably about this area here, and will get you a much higher quality data than the one I've just showed you, because with 2 cameras you do one on the side and you do one from the front, which means that you can get all your side motion. Now, it can't play that in real time. What it does is it records all the information, and then computer software looks at the recording and then calculates the skeleton. So it's a non-real-time system, but it's $1,000 plus the cost of 2 Kinect cameras. So it is kind of getting cheaper, and it's getting fun. So this is something we're probably not going to do on our show, but it gives you an idea of, you can work with very compact green screens when you need to. This was the thing there we claimed President Tate for Outcasts. You can see the green screen there. And because they wanted this doppelganger thing where he's seen speaking to himself on the other side of the table, we had the camera over here, and we had another dolly on the other side of the table with the green screen on it. And some poor cyclists had to run around pushing the green screen and keep it behind the actor as the camera went around on the opposite side. It worked. and the reason it worked was because I proved it would work, because I used that previous software to test the idea. So I literally put 2 characters in iClone, I put a green screen behind them, and I put in a fake camera on a circular track, and I recorded each pass separately, took them into a compositing package and saw if the technique would work, and of course it did. That's called technical previs, so that's what I do a lot of as well. And And this is how I proved it to the production. I took my beautiful assistant and I hand walked around in the volume. And the idea is this is where the green screen would be. And I was showing the whole point is that I need to keep the green screen behind one pass of the actor. And in a moment you'll see the rough comp that I put together just to show them how the technique would work. Because sometimes when you're dealing with filmmakers, you have to explain things to them. So here's kind of the rough, dirty comp showing how the technique would work. So, so as you come round behind the first pass of the actor, you can see the actor again standing the other side of the room for real on the table. So it's kind of, that's the trick. And then it's just a case of doing the trick properly with proper production personnel to kind of get it right. This is pretty much how we're going to be able to do stuff at Armadacon next year. It's much simpler setup, but indicative of the type of thing we'll probably end up doing. Some of you here last year remember this was a salvage shot for a scene in Outcast where they ran out of shooting time during the day on the beach at Coble Bay and they couldn't actually get the shot for real. So the art department basically, when we were at a completely different location in the mountains, made a bit of a beach with Amy and Danny Mays, and there's the green screen, holed up against a truck in outdoors. A lot of our stuff is outdoors. That's what the camera sees. So that's the camera angle that's matched. Well, that's the camera that it shows, and the pack's lying dead in front of them. This is the reverse angle that they wanted, that they didn't manage to shoot for real on the day. I mean, it just goes to show you that you end up with costs you don't expect. I mean, you know, if this had been shot on the day, there would be no visual effect. It would have been real and it had been done and dusted. Instead, they've now got a visual effect because they ran out of time and they've been forced to do a visual effect. So that's the green screen. And of course, you then need a background plate to go with it, which, if you remember from last year, I couldn't get the camera to shoot on because they were using it all the time. There was two of them, but they were always shooting with two cameras. So the nice ARRI-D21 that's back there was not available constantly throughout the remainder of the production. So with 1 week to go, I borrowed a Canon 550D stills camera and went back to Coble Bay at exactly the same time of day as the live action would have been shot if they'd shot it, and shot, you see quite a lot of it, at the same camera height. So this is where you do your job as a VFX supervisor. You take a tape measure, you get the camera height, you get the tilt, so that when you go to here, you can set your camera up at the same height, with the same tilt, with the same focal length lens, and then you know that when you put the two together, you're going to get a match. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing next year when we do this stuff. So once we have our pretty C plate, then we comp the two together. And basically you have your final shot where the green screen's removed and we've got a nice bit of soft blending between the fake beach and the real beach and the wet water. And as you can see, modern compositing is very good, but they've got a nice fine hair detail. That's all beautiful. So, so basically, that's sort of kind of what we're going to be doing next year. We're going to bring our green screen down and set it up here in one of the rooms. We're going to steal a whole room. That's what I've asked for because we need it for the whole the weekend, because we're going to have to set not only the green screen up and the lights and the camera and everything, but also the computers that will be used to do all of this. So we will be recording all this stuff live, and for the trailer that we're going to basically producing a 30-second trailer for the Sunday before the closing ceremony, and we'll have brought the majority of the film with us to the convention, because during the course of the year we will pre-make a significant part of the film, and we'll certainly have enough, more than enough to do a trailer. But the bit we won't have for a trailer is any live action, because we won't have shot any until we get to the con next year. So the plan will be to shoot everything over the weekend and then cherry pick some really good shots and put them together that weekend for the trailer. And since we're all going to be doing that in a room, hopefully if anybody's interested they can watch all that going on. So we're not going to hide in a hotel room and do it. We are going to just do it in front of everybody. So you'll be able to see how this stuff's put together and see it going in the edit. and we will then hopefully have a fan film about Christmas time. Anybody got any questions?
Where do I sign up?
We have a pad. Did you see the presentation? Right, fine. Well, you know you can be an actor in it. You can be a lead role, a minor role, an extra. If anybody wants to be seen in the film, just doesn't really want to have a speaking part because they're not confident, you'll be glad to know that we've deliberately made sure there will be sort of crowd shots, as they're known, which means that if you just want to be seen, you can be in a crowd shot. And we will shoot people against the green screen in small groups, and we'll be able to make a crowd shut up and everybody can be seen.
When you retire from the film industry, have you considered setting up Total Recall so we can all have a perfect holiday?
Yes, here's the holiday video, the really expensive holiday I went to.
That you can't afford to have.
Yeah.
Now there will be some production roles that we'll need to fill, so we'll make a list of them and put them on the website. If you don't already know about the Planet VFX website, there is a link to it from the Armadacon site. It's the easiest way to find it. So just go to the fan film link. That link will be gradually updated during the course of the whole next year. So any information that you need to know about will be on the site, certainly about what we need from you. Now the one thing I'd say is this: anybody who's going to act in the film, which I didn't mention on Friday, but is in the sort of guide, if you pick one up, and if you don't have one and want one, talk to me and Linda will give you one. We will need people to make their own costumes or acquire costumes because we don't have the resources to provide them for you because we're already spending our own money doing some of this. We've already bought a lot of assets and we'll be spending a lot more on the technical side. So we will need those who want to act to bring costumes. The costumes have to avoid, funny enough, green.
Oh, that's got something I want to do.
Because it's green screen, and this is what you have to do in the industry. So even something as simple as combat fatigues in khaki are not good because they do have green content and they go partially transparent when you key them. Okay, so things like turquoise, cyans, and greens, I'm afraid, please avoid. If you watch Stargate, you'll notice they don't have green very much in their costumes when they're out and about because they have the same problem with these green screens. So blues and browns and earth colours are all good, reds.
Pink battle armour.
Sorry?
Pink battle armour.
Pink battle armour, absolutely, yeah. So things like that. But anyway, we'll put all this on the website so you know. When it comes to production personnel, we'll have a list of roles that will need to be filled next year here when we're shooting. So if you want to sign up for any of those, we'll let you know. If you're interested in any particular role, I think probably the best thing, Liz, is if we can compile an email list of people who are interested. So if there's some way of them emailing Armadacon and saying, I want to be in it, we can then compile a list and then we can notify people and say, what are you interested in?
Probably the easiest way would be through to, if people go onto the website and contact us page, either of the two emails on there would be fine. They both come to the meeting.
Sorry, on which website? The
Armadacon website.
Right.
She's wearing a khaki jacket. Is that khaki colour?
It is slightly green. Because this has been paid for. There is a way to deal with khaki. What it's called is you basically pull what's called multiple keys. The way it works is that if some item goes partially transparent, it means the travelling mat that's stopping it being transparent isn't solid enough. It's not. The mat looks like black and white. Where it's white, you see the person, and where it's black, you see the background. And basically, we had to put a secondary key for her, and Roto Bunny back there, my wife. You have to draw around the character's shape with a spline to just isolate that jacket. And you pull a second key and make that key harder. And it does cause problems because that type of hard key would destroy the hair. So the fact that they're sitting and not moving is really good news. If they were moving around, it would be a damn hard shot to do. So there's a lot of work in this shop, and that's why we've done it. So I'm trying to make life easier for ourselves. No green of any kind! Dave.
Actually, a question to the committee and to everybody else in the room. if we could get the hotel at a sensible time, would people be interested in a sort of premiere weekend where we'll launch it and they can all come back and see it? Big screen type.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something mentioned at the last committee meeting in August that we attended about possibly talking to one of the cinemas in Plymouth. I will leave that with the committee.
Yeah.
I've heard
Um,
from you.
That
well,
is something
the
we
film-
will sort out.
The film
Yeah.
will be
That is
full
something to
feature
sort out
film
in the
resolution.
Wasn't it?
The film will be 1080p high definition.
We could all come
Which will be exactly the same format that Lucas releases their stuff in. So if we have to make an official digital cinema print, we can, because we have software that will let us do that, and we'll make an actual digital print that you can load onto a cinema playback system. But as it stands, obviously we'll be generating a number of high definition formats for the web. That will be the first port of call. If we can do a premiere of some kind, that would be great, but it would be nice if it was projected on something decent. Probably more decent than that, really. These projectors are never great. I mean, even if we block all the lights in this room, you can see that there's a bit of a washing out occurring on the image. So cinemas are obviously ideal, but yeah, we'll leave that with the committee hopefully and see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
you
you.
very much, Alan.